Hello, and welcome to our next episode of What's on the Horizon. I'm Lori Scherenbrock, and I'm here with Chris Schucker of Digital Horizons. And today I want to talk about cabinet design. So one of my favorite things here in the Experience Center is everything is so beautifully designed. You would never know that there's equipment in here.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen?
So a lot of the reason that we get involved with projects is we're really good at, I like calling it blending technology with architecture. So you can have, we'll take our living room system here, for example. We have a beautiful 85-inch Sony TV. We have a 5.1.2 Dolby Atmos surround sound system with a pair of in-ceiling speakers and a subwoofer. And when you walk in here,
None of it.
all you see is the TV.
Yeah.
And the way we've achieved that is just through some careful planning and some consideration of what our goal is in the end. And we wanted to show, of course, how we take technology and we tuck it away, hide it away, and make it, not part of the room,
Right.
So in this room, for example, the equipment that's involved aside from the TV and the speakers is we have a surround sound receiver, we have a cable box, we have a Blu-ray player, we have an Apple TV, we have a Roku player, we have an Xbox, and then in here we have the ability to look at surveillance cameras.
Sure.
I'm probably missing something. And all of that equipment is in a cabinet in the back of the room.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be there. It could literally be anywhere in the house. The only real challenge with remotely locating equipment for a nice home theater entertainment system is the one device that you need to interact with is the Blu-ray player. We're actually getting to the point where some people are electing to not have Blu-ray players now, which is kind of a killer to me because they really do provide the best audio video quality if you're really trying to utilize your system. I think we have a separate video discussing that.
We have a separate video about that. Please watch it.
But we take all of those components and through careful planning and rough-in and wiring and whatnot, we can put it literally anywhere in the house. And then, of course, we have a smart remote that ties everything together so that those 8 devices that you might need 8 remotes for is simplified down to one. The actual challenging thing that comes up sometimes is and why I wanted to discuss this is it happened on a recent project and it's a fairly frequent occurrence is how do we accommodate a TV in a piece of furniture or in a cabinet?
Yeah.
The most simplest response to that is, well, we'll just put it on a stand and we'll just, have it sit in the cabinet. But that doesn't look very nice. And what ends up happening is these flat panel televisions are so not stable that their base tends to be much longer than the TV is deep. The TV itself could be 2 to 4 inches deep, but then the base is 10 to 15 inches deep. So if you have this TV in your cabinet, it's at least 6 to 8 or maybe even 10 inches back from the front of the cabinet. So if it's not sitting on just a piece of furniture and out in the open, it's going to have some sort of sidewall and a top, and now it's out of view from those that might be sitting off to the side. So the best way to handle that is to mount the television inside of the cabinet on an articulating mount. And what that does is it allows you to pull the television out and then position it where you want to view it. And then when you're not using it, you can push it back into the cabinet and use it that way. But the challenge is that most cabinets are 23, 24 inches deep, sometimes more.
Yeah.
And most articulating mounts are 22 to maybe 30 inches deep. So if you mount it to the back of the cabinet, you're not going to pull it out a significant enough amount to where it can be used. So the solution is we work with cabinet shops so that they can build what's referred to as a false back. And then we have them reinforce it very similar to how you might build a wall where we have them put reinforcement depending on the size of the TV and everything. But if it's a larger television, we ask for a 16-inch on center reinforcement. So it's like a stud wall.
Yeah.
So that when we go and install the mount, we have a nice solid surface to attach it to. And then we have them put this false back only 6 to 10 inches back from the front of the cabinet. Basically enough for the thickness of the television, the thickness of the bracket, and then there's always an interface between the bracket and the TV that adds a half to an inch. So that when you're done using it, you can push it back and it's still fully within the cabinet. But by having this false back, and now instead of only being able to pull the TV out 4 to 6 inches from the front of the cabinet, it can now be brought out, 16 to 24 inches, and then you have much more movement to position it throughout the room so that it's more usable. So, and then the last part of it is, of course, you have devices that are connected to the TV. A lot of people are just using built-in apps to the televisions. But if you have an Apple TV or cable box or a game console, those devices have to go somewhere. And it's easy enough to just place them below the TV. But if coordination is done correctly, how we prefer to do it is the cabinet shut. And this is, of course, being new construction or a remodel, and there's new cabinets going in. But we would have them cut a 2-inch hole in the top of the cabinet behind the false back. And then when we come out to do the install, we will cut a hole in the false back. And the reason we do that is if they cut the hole, they don't know where to place it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it might be in a place where we want to put the mount or something like that. And any reasonable audio video integrator, which is what we call ourselves, should have the ability to drill use a hole saw and cut in a 2 or 3 inch hole once the mount is up. And then you can fish your HDMI cables through the hole we created, through the hole the cabinet shop created, and then down to the components below. And then, of course, route the wires through the mount and onto the television. So yeah, that's the challenge we run into, and it's that's been the best approach that we found is they do a false back, we attach the TV to the mount and onto the false back, and then it looks very nice.
Have you seen those options? I watch a lot of HGTV.
Sure.
Where they have the cabinets and the TV comes up out of it. Do you see many of those?
We install a few of those. Most of the time when we install a TV on a lift, it's at the foot of a bed in the master bedroom.
Sure.
Otherwise, we'll do, like we actually have our experience center here. We have a TV that comes down out of our cabinets in the kitchen. And we've done them in the living room, great room type scenario that you're discussing too. The only drawback is that sometimes the placement is not ideal. And when you do those, unless you spend quite a bit more on them, they don't have the ability to come out and pivot.
Yes.
So if the budget is constrained and the only thing that you can do is just have the TV raise up, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But sometimes there's a lot of glare from maybe a lakeside window, or it just ends up being where the viewing angles are obstructed. So there are some rooms where it makes sense to do, and we provide guidance and insight on what might make sense, but you do lose out on a few things. But it is the best way to completely hide the television. And how cool is it to just hit a button and watch your TV come up?
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. And even, seeing that wonder on your guest's face when you open that cabinet to reveal this beautiful TV that you can just pull out and position where you need it to.
There's some really neat custom high-end solutions for motorizing your cabinet doors.
Oh.
And then also revealing and then having either the TV on a manual mount or to have the TV on an articulating motorized mount. That is a thing. Many years ago, we were the first company to install the first motorized mount that existed in the industry. Oh. And we ended up, we kind of acted as a beta tester almost, because there were a few issues and few bugs, but the company was out of Shakopee. They're still around. They don't make the mount anymore, but they had engineers that came out and helped us assist in fixing some of the bugs. But the TV was the coolest thing ever. It was just they had a smart remote and you hit a button to turn it on, and then the TV would automatically come out and move to a preset position. And then they had additional presets that they could go to if maybe they were in the kitchen versus being in the living room, and it would turn and twist. And then when they were done, it would fully retract and go back to its home position. And they didn't have to deal with it. So that was the wow factor. That was very cool.
Awesome. It's like straight out of the Jetsons.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So if someone's thinking about this, is it something, that like an interior designer is suggesting to them, or is it like they come to you with a dream and a wish and they say, how do we make this work?
Well, it's usually it comes out of necessity, because everybody wants a television in their main living room, great room. And so we're often tasked with, how do we incorporate it? What's the what are the aesthetic requirements, what needs to be done, and how do we achieve that. And we just figure something out.
Awesome. So if someone has that on their brain that that's something they want to do, how do they start working with you?
I just tell them to go to our website, which is digitalhorizonsmn.com, or they can just Google Digital Horizons and we'll come right up.
There.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that information. You have me dreaming about what's next and the possibilities and how to make my home just so cool. So thanks for joining us, and tune in for our next episode.